So what's going on, everyone? How's everyone doing? I'm back with it with one of my favorite artists at the time, Kendrick Lamar's, new sophomore album just came out. It's called To Pimp A Butterfly. Now, if you haven't heard Kendrick Lamar's past work, which is, Section 80, Overly Dedicated, Kendrick Lamar EP, check those out. Before this, he had his debut album called Good Kid, Mad City, which was a great album, start to finish. Tracks were on point. If you haven't seen it, I'll link it somewhere in this video. I'll link it in the description. You gotta listen to this album. It was a great album. Now, you have Kendrick coming 2 to 3 years later with his next sophomore album called To Pimp A Butterfly. Now, this album, I gotta say, it goes in. This album is pretty much his after success of Good Kid, Mad City. So, with this album, you're gonna deal with Kendrick's struggles with depression, his overall success, him going through his whole self-realization of knowing himself a bit more or a bit better than what I guess he knew himself or what he thought he knew about himself back in Good Kid, Mad City or his past work. Like, the fame is starting to hit him, and it's interesting. He has a couple songs where it's like, such as like These Walls, where I felt like he got very resentful from the things that he was doing, along with the poem that he says, through every other song, where he kind of breaks down this poem and it gives you a line by line throughout each song until you get to the full pieces of the poem in Mortal Man, where it's like, I remember you were conflicted using your influence, and it's just like, it's interesting how, the success of Good Kid, Mad City had him, his depression grew, his everything that you think would be set and be fine if you got the success and the money and the fame, you think would be great. Kendrick shows you that it's not all that it's cracked up to be, and you kind of get that. And the first song that you hear this opens up, the first words you hear is "Every nigga is a star," and then the song is called Wesley's Theory as it opens up. And the first verse, what I got from it was everything that a black entertainer would do, put his homies on, get the whole girls, car, money, home, all that good stuff that they want to spend money on and just blow because they finally have it if they didn't have anything. And it's just like, so what I got from it, because he named it Wesley's Theory, he didn't want to be like Wesley Snipes, get all the hype, get all the fame, get all the money quick, and then, get locked up and go to jail for a couple years, or, just freaking be in a horrible situation where you don't know what you're doing. And I think either that song or another song where Dr. Dre calls him up and he's like, it's great getting the house, but it's keeping it. And he has a point. Like, you can get it. That's no problem. It's you keeping that. And it's just like, the song is very interesting. And then you get to the second verse where I thought it was more like America or like Uncle Sam, I guess, where it's like he wants him to, keep on spending. Why not? Keep on doing your thing. We want you to do that. What I got from that second verse. So I thought it was a very interesting way to open up. The thing was dope. Like, I wish I could go through every track, detail by detail, giving you my thoughts on each song. But that's going to take a super long video. So I'm just going to give you, like, different songs that I really liked. Another song that I really liked was You. You was on point. So, whatever he was doing before the hotel, before he caught himself screaming in the hotel, whether he, invited a girl in or something, and she complied with him or doing something for him, some type of favor, which I can only assume, since this whole thing is about power, and, anyone, whether it's a female or male, whoever, they're down to do something for Kendrick, and he's like, he's new to this whole power thing with people just doing whatever he says, and they're just, yeah, we'll do that because it's Kendrick, and he has the whole money and the fame and the success to back him now. And it's just interesting, where it's like, the first verse, he gets into it, and then you hear the beat get like all distorted and things like that, as you hear the maid knocking on the door. She's sitting there, try to, know if anyone's in there and everything. And it sounds like, I feel like it's Kendrick's like inner voice, and he's like talking to himself, and you just hear the emotions, and he's just taking, gulps of the bottle and just like drinking himself down, and like looking back at everything, like he has like he FaceTime with his homie that one time, thinking that he'll be okay, and it's like, it was just like all interesting, and it's like, it got real deep. Like, that song was like it was a pretty emotional song, and I was like, wow. To like think like that's where you've landed. And as you see from this album, it tells a different story from Good Kid, Mad City, where it's not like it's a story where you have to kind of like sit back and like analyze and think about it. Where it's like I felt like at the first he didn't know himself, and then as you go through, with the song Mama, Hood Politics, which I thought was a dope song. His homie calls him up. He's like, "Don't tell me you're on some weirdo rapper shit, wearing skinny jeans and all this stuff and everything." And then he tries to like, Kendrick tries to go back to that. Like he's been A1 since day one. You guys boo boo. It's just like he's like trying to realize who he is. So he's going back and forth. Throughout these songs, he's saying a line by line. For this poem that he completely finishes at Mortal Man. It starts off by, "I remember you being conflicted, using your influence." It's like, it's a great body of work. So as he's going through each song, you start understanding that Kendrick's trying to like, understand himself, trying to love himself. And it's just, it's amazing. Hood Politics was a great song. All Right was a great song. There's a song, How Much Does a Dollar Cost? Where it's like, it's so freaking, you can imagine everything that's happening. Like he's living life, he's doing his thing, and this guy's asking for $1 and he's staring at him, and you find out that, it turns out that this guy is God, and, now he can't get to heaven because he didn't want to share his wealth with this man. And it's just like, every song had a reason to be in that. And this album was like a great body of work. Like, let me also just touch on Mortal Man. Now, Mortal Man was a deep song. It was like 50 Cent's 21 Questions, but it's like he questioned everything, from his fans to the people that surround him. Like he had questions for everything, and he led into finally finishing that poem that he said line by line in every other song, where he brought it out. And then at the end of it, he reads a poem to Tupac. They have a little talk back and forth, which I thought was surprising and amazing and wow. Like he asks Tupac how he deal with the fame, or like did he think it was do you think there was a reason for him to have it? And Tupac said like he deserved it. Like he worked hard for it. He worked at these horrible jobs to get to where he is. And it's just interesting. It's an amazing body of work. I could probably talk about this all day, but I'm gonna hop into my top 3 songs of this album. So my top 3 songs of this album that I loved on this would have to be You, Hood Politics, and Mortal Man. Those are the top 3 songs that I was freaking amazed on this. Like every song did its thing. Black of the Berry, the new version, with the new verse on it, where he goes into more depth on what do you call it? I think it's pronounced negress, if I'm not mistaken. It would be a new word instead of nigger or nigga. That's the word that should have caught on. Amazing album. If you haven't heard it, hop on iTunes, head to your store, cop it. Like I wish I could go into details on how great this album was to me personally, and I thought it was a great body of work. So with that being said, I gotta give this album a 10. Like, once again, Kendrick does his thing. If you're looking for Good Kid, Mad City, you will get this, but in a different way. Like, Kendrick's telling you a story, but it's telling you a deeper story of how he became to like self-realize his path, and him starting to love himself and understand who he is after the success. And that's what the story is that I got from this. So I was blown away from this. Tell me your thoughts. What do you think about this album? What are your top 3 songs, your top however many songs? What do you rate this album as? I thought this album was dope, amazing. I'm gonna be listening to this for a while, at least the next 2-3 years when his third album comes out. Once again, Kendrick did his thing. I can't down him, hate on it. From start to finish, tracks were meant to be there. It was perfect. So with that being said, drop your thoughts all down below in the comment section. If you haven't already, why don't you follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and maybe Google+. All the links down below. If you want to talk about Kendrick's album with me, hit me up on Twitter. I'm playing this like crazy, so feel free to hit me up on those networks. all down below. Drop your thoughts all down below. That being said, I'm out.